This is 11.2's notes. This is the part 2 video. We're working on transformations of square roots. This is part 2. I would pause it and write these first 4 problems down before you finish watching what's happening here. And we are talking about the letter C this time. And notice C is under the square root with x, so it's going to cause some kind of horizontal shift because it is with x. And so I'm going to type the parent function in. I'm going to type in my new function. And I'm going to hit graph. There's my parent. My new function moved to the right 3. So that's all I'm going to write down. It went right 3. I'm going to type in the square root of x plus 3 and graph that. And you can see that it moved left 3. I'm going to go back and I'm going to put in minus 1. I'm going to put it right here. And I'm going to go ahead and put plus 1 at the same time. So I'm going to look at both of these. When I hit graph, the minus 1 is red. So minus 1 is red. And it moved to the right 1. And the plus 1 was the black one, and it moved left 1. So to summarize this section, we're talking about the letter C. C is going to cause your horizontal shift. And horizontal is left or right. And you also probably want to write down the word opposite. This guy is opposite of everything I see. When I see minus 3, I go right. When I see plus, I go left. That happened every time. So I would write that down. That you need to know. And I would record this on your review, what A, B, C, and D that we're writing here do on your final exam review, because your final exam has a lot of this on it. I would pause again and write down this section for D. We are working with the last letter, and then we're going to practice some. So I'm going to go ahead and type in square root of x minus 2. Notice I'm hitting the right arrow because I have to get out from underneath the square root. This minus 2 is not under it. When I hit graph, there's my parent, my new function. It went down 2. So if I go ahead and change this to minus 4, since I can see that one, you can see that it also went down, and this time it went down 4. So I'm going to switch, and I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to say instead of minus, I'm going to put a plus 4, so I'll go ahead and do this one first. And I can see that this function goes up 4. I'm going to go back in and change it to plus 2. And I'm going to see that it goes up 2 right there. So to summarize this section, we're talking about the letter D. So D is my vertical shift. And there's no reason to write anything else about it, because when I see minus, it goes down, and when I see plus, it goes up. It does exactly what I think it should. These are the 4 practice problems that we're going to talk about. I would suggest again that you go ahead and pause the video and write these down, and then you can continue so that you can hear what happens with these guys. We're also going to be doing domain and range. So given this first function, this is A because it's out front of the square root. This is C, it is after x, and this is D because it's after and outside. Got to be able to know. Here, in front of, but inside is B. I've got C, and I've got D. Right here, I've got A again. It's out front. C, D. Down here, I've got B, C, D. That is the first thing you need to be able to do, is recognize which function, which number represents which variable. If you need to, you can look back in your notes. For this particular problem, we're talking about A right here. Tells me what A does right here. And we're talking about A being 2. 2 is not less than 1. 2 is greater than 1. So I'm going to say it's a vertical stretch. You can shorten that. 2 causes a vertical stretch. The minus 3 we said is C. So I can go up above in my notes, and I see minus 3. It's going to be this one. So it's going to go to the right 3. Minus 2 is D. That's my vertical shift. Notice when you saw a minus, it went down. So we're going to say down 2. I'm going to come back and do domain and range in a second. Given this problem, I need to look at what B does. And B happens right here. First thing I see is a negative. So I'm going to look and see if that is going to reflect. And make sure you put that it's going over the y-axis. 1/2. Notice I didn't say negative, I said 1/2. 1/2 is less than 1. So I'm going to say it's a horizontal stretch. And remember that I have to do that it's a stretch by the reciprocal, so it's going to be a stretch of 2. I forgot over here that you have a stretch of 2, sorry. Okay, so I've got, again, reciprocal because B is the opposite of everything. So minus 2 is the C. Again, I go opposite of what I am seeing, so I'm going to go to the right 2. And D is your vertical shift, so I'm going to go up 1. I've got A. So again, I can look at what A tells me right here. I see a negative first, so I'm going to reflect over the x-axis. I do not use the negative. I look only at the 3. 3 is not less than 1. 3 is greater than 1. So this is a vertical stretch. And it's by 3. It's exactly what I see. Vertical stretch of 3. C goes opposite, so I'm going to go to the right 2. D goes up 3. Again, you can use your notes to refer to this. Last part I'm looking at 1/3 for B. So B is greater than 1, so this is a horizontal. I'm sorry, 1/3 is not greater than 1. 1/3 is less than 1, so it's a horizontal stretch. By the reciprocal is 3. C moves opposite, so I'm going to go left 2. D moves up and down. Okay, now to talk about domain and range. You can use a calculator to type these in, or you can draw a picture, a rough picture. This guy is not reflecting at all, so it should look like the parent. And you should already know that the parent function looks like this. When I hit graph, there's my parent, there's my new function. The baby function, domain moves from left to right. The first x value I see is 3. So I'm going to say x is greater than, because it moves to the right, or equal to 3. Domain moves left to right. On the left, I don't see anything until I get to x is 3, and it moves continually forever to that right, which is infinity. So if I just say it's bigger than 3, that tells me it keeps going. Range moves bottom to top. We've been over that a lot this year. The lowest value I see is -2. So y, we're going to compare to -2. And it starts at -2, it goes up. So that means it's greater than. So that's the domain and range of this first graph. Now, notice that 3 relates to where my C moved it. And D tells me my range. This moves it on the x-axis, this moves it on the y-axis. They are what relates here. Let's see if that happens on the next one. So, clear that out. Let's type in, make sure, -1/2. And then this is in parentheses, so I'm going to keep it in parentheses like the paper shows me. And I'm going to hit graph. Now, if this rings true, right 3, down 2. This would be right 2, so +2 and up 1. Let's see. Here's the difference. We caused a reflection this way. So my graph starts way out there at -infinity for x, and as I move, it stops at 2. It stops at 2. So my domain for x is stopping at 2. Notice that it's not greater than. It's not moving to the right. Because of this reflection, it's moving to the left. So I want less than. It's going to be 2 or to the left, less than. My range starts at 1, and it's above. So y is greater than or equal to 1. So it's still these two numbers, but because I reflected this way, it's got to be less than 2 because I went to the left. Okay, the next graph. Again, you can plug these into the calculator to look at them, especially on the final exam. Okay, so I have this function typed in. I need domain, and I'm going to need range. Domain, left to right, the first x value I see is 2. So we're comparing x to 2. It moves to 3, 4, 5, 6, so it's greater than 2. Range, my range starts at 3 for y. You can see if you count up, but it falls below 3. In order to fall below 3, I want to be less than 3. Because of this reflection coming down, it's going to be less than 3. Okay, the last one that we're going to check is again, we want domain, which starts from the left. Left value is -2, and it goes to the right, so that's greater. X is greater than or equal to 2. I'm sorry, not 2, -2. We're at -2 over here. The y value starts at 1, it looks like. So y is compared to 1, and we go above it, so it's greater than or equal to 1.